Hey everybody, this is my gourami tank, although it's getting kind of difficult to call it that anymore. I'm down to my 2 moonlights and 1 gold gourami, and the gold gourami is most definitely having swim bladder issues, and I don't really expect her to be around too much longer. And the 2 moonlight gouramis have never really gotten along. The 1 moonlight would be with the other gouramis that used to be in the tank, but the 2 moonlights are seldom near each other. So whenever the one's out, the other one's always kind of hiding. The subdominant one is in the back, and right now she's back there hiding away. You can kind of make her out back in there. So I don't get to see much of her anymore either. So it really just kind of seems like I've got the 1 gourami. So I'm thinking about maybe some new additions to this tank. I don't know. That's honestly not really the point of this video. This is just going to be a long overdue water change before and after video. I really need to get in there and clear out some of that tiger lotus, and that's honestly the only reason I'm really doing this. I've been waiting kind of to see what this water I'm going to get ready to call it water lily, which I guess technically it is, but this red tiger lotus is what most people call this particular cultivar. And if you look at it, I've got a lot of leaves that have now reached the surface. I've got large leaves over there that are getting sort of hung up on my spray bar. You can see I've got leaves that are as yet unfurled that are still making their way to the surface. I've got leaves all the way over there. So I'm getting less and less open surface water. I'm getting less and less light down into the tank. And the water, or the lotus itself, is sort of, I'm reluctant to use the word learning, but I'll say it's learning where the light is. It's learning where the surface is. And pretty soon, every leaf on this plant is going to be making a beeline towards the surface. If you see that one right there, it has not unfurled yet, and probably won't even start unfurling until it reaches the surface, now that there's already so many up on the surface. So that's going to be my main goal, is to get in there and trim a bunch of those long strands out, those runners. I've even got some that have broken loose. If you'll notice, this one here is just free floating. So that's basically just debris at this point. That needs to come out. And then I've also got a fair amount of cyanobacteria growing in some clumps here and there on this end of the tank in this water sprite. So I'll probably get in there and pull some of that out too, maybe thin that out a little bit, and that'll let some more light into the tank, and it'll help keep the cyanobacteria under control. And then of course I'll just do the water change. I'm not really going to bother with the filter. I do have plans on doing something to the filter next time I get in there and work on it, but it's not really due yet. I try to do that maybe once every 6 weeks or so. I'll get in there and clear the filter out. So today this is just going to be a before and after. Have a good look at your before. And there's your after. So admittedly, I got a little carried away. Sort of got in the groove once I was cutting back the red tiger lotus. I just kept going and going and going. It didn't seem to matter how many stalks I cut out of there. There always was another one that was, when I tugged on it, it seemed to be so long. It looked like it could have reached the ceiling in the room with the lid open. So I trimmed a lot of that back. If we come over here and we look down where all the cut stalks are, now those stalks will die off, and that will be dead, plant material, organic matter in the tank that'll be rotting away. So that is something to consider whenever you're going to cut plants back. How much of it's going to die off? Do you want to cut the top of the leaf and leave that whole stem in there? So I try to get down as low as I can within reason. I could have followed each one down all the way as close as I could to the base, but you risk cutting, multiple strands at the same time. I even did accidentally cut a few that I didn't necessarily want to, but, that's how it goes when you're in there trying to work your way around with a pair of scissors underwater. Underwater gardening is definitely different than out in the yard. So once I sort of got on a roll there, I came over here and I went to town on the water sprite. Now the reason I went to town on the water sprite was because every clump that had a bunch of green cyanobacteria growing on it, I just cut the whole branch off, if that was what, just made more sense than trying to cut all the little pieces that had that dark green all over it. There was a couple sections that had sort of mats of it growing to it. And I also took one of the little pieces that was sticking up and out of the water. You can see how some of it's actually growing up and out. I snipped a few of those off, and I put one piece in the brackish tank with butterbean, and I'm going to see what it does, if it starts growing, if the roots grow, if it stays sort of odd and spindly looking like this. I've mentioned before in other videos that this is a very strange looking water sprite. I don't know what to make of it. I'm assuming the damage that gets done to the roots by the gouramis is what causes a nutrient deficiency and makes it grow weird like that. But I've lost so many gouramis, and it's getting to the point now where I don't have a whole lot of damage being done to the roots. That's certainly enough root matter that I ought to be getting good nutrition. So I don't know what's going on with this one. It's just an oddball, but I am doing a little sort of experiment with my brackish tank now to see if that ever, grows or does anything over there. My poor gold gourami is hiding up in the far right corner. She's still floating like a cork. There's not a lot I can do about that either. I have switched this tank to spirulina. It's good for constipation, and it floats on the surface. I really don't know what it can do for a swim bladder issue, but like I said, there's not a lot I can do. So I am feeding her nothing but spirulina at this point, and hoping if she's got some sort of infection or whatever, it works itself out. But other than that, that was it. Water change, trimmed all those plants back, scared the heck out of the fish, and really opened up the tank. I know it looked better the way it was before. I always say that. I know everybody says that, but it will grow back before you know it. Don't worry. It's like getting a haircut. I never understand why people get so upset when they get a bad haircut. It's just hair. It'll grow back. And this tank will do the same thing. Before you know it, it'll be lush and thick, and I'll be complaining about how I need to get in there and trim all the plants back again. So thanks for watching, and make sure you're subscribed. That way you won't miss any of those videos or anything else. You never know what you're going to get. I always got something going on down here. So thanks again for watching. See you real soon in the next one.